years. Never.
FYI, we are at capacity now, so you can go ahead and start.
Good evening. On behalf of the Fresno Fire Department, we would like to welcome you to our first virtual firefighter trainee recruit town hall meeting. My name is Larry French. We'll be working with you and discussing some of the information specific to recruitment with Fresno Fire Department. We have a number of panelists here this evening that you'll hear from. I want to do some housekeeping before we get into our information. As you watch the delivery of the information this evening, feel free to post comments in the question and answer session. And throughout the presentation, we will attempt to answer those questions as the presentation continues. At the end of the slideshow, and we're hoping approximately an hour into it, we will be able to finish off the panelist discussion, and we will finish answering any questions that were complex in nature. We felt the rest of the group could benefit from a live discussion with the panelists. We have a pretty full evening ahead of you, and we do ask that individuals that are signed on currently, please consider the fact that if you're signed on through Zoom, we only have 500 seats available. We are currently have over 700 individuals that are registered. So those individuals that are in overflow capacity are watching via live stream. If you know that you are just going to be observing and listening to the information, we ask that you consider moving over to live stream to allow an individual to participate in the Zoom process so they can ask questions and answers. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our Fire Chief, Fresno City Fire Chief Carrie Donis.
Good evening and welcome. It's been over 10 years since we had a open recruitment that didn't require any fire academy experience. And we're excited about offering this opportunity to many of you. There's a lot to go over tonight, so we'll get right into it. I'd like to introduce our three deputy chiefs. I have Chief Ted Simonius, who is coming into the operations division.
Good evening. It's been a little bit of time since I've been in operations, so it's going to be great to be back. And just a little bit about operations. It's more than just fire suppression. 65% of what we do in operations is EMS calls, and that includes traffic accidents, which could include pin-ins and those type of calls. But we also do other emergency service calls, such as fire alarm responses, hazardous materials, urban search and rescue, and airport firefighting. Most importantly, though, we want to make sure that we have positive public contacts and make sure that we have positive outcomes on all the calls that we go on, because essentially it's the public's worst day when they have to call for an emergency services to come out to either their house or any location that they're at.
I think that's my cue. Jonathan Chu, I'm deputy for the training division. The training division is responsible for training all members across the divisions, not just operations and prevention, but we've got administration here too. We make sure that we comply with all local, state, and national standards, and there's always training activities going on, including the rank-specific academies, of which, if you are successful, you would join the Firefighter Trainee Academy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Chief Chu. Finally, Chief Billy Alcorn will be stepping into our Prevention and Support Services Division.
I've been here almost 14 years, never had one day where I regretted to go to work, so I'm pretty happy about that and pretty fortunate.
There's no greater feeling in the world to recognize that your job requires you to make someone's life better every day.
It is the best job ever. It's like being part of a team. and going to the game every single day.
It's an honor to be a firefighter for the city of Fresno. It comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility.
Anytime we show up, we're there to help them to make the situation better.
We have the opportunity to help every culture, every age, every area of the city.
We as a public service, we need to be representative of those who we serve.
Okay, we're going to jump right into this. Some of you may be, looking at changing professions to do this. Maybe you're in law school, maybe you're a welder, maybe you're a teacher, and this is your opportunity to pivot and, come join this team. It is a long process. You have to be patient to get through this process because it takes some time. So I want to walk you through that very, very briefly. And then I'll ask our senior human resources analyst, Blair Nelson, to have any follow-up comments. What you'll see is you have to submit your application. The requirements to submit the application means you have to be 20 at the time of filing, 21 at the time of appointment. You have to have a California driver's license, a high school diploma or GED, proof of enrollment at an EMT class, or possession of your EMT certification or paramedic certification. That would mean a signed letter from the authority or institution that you're taking that EMT class from at the time of enrollment, if you haven't completed that course. The EMT certification must be obtained by the time of appointment. That's a national registry process. Once you meet those qualifications, you'll be invited to the written competitive testing process. As they mentioned earlier, there's over 800 plus people that have zoomed into this or are watching this online. This is very competitive. I would expect anywhere from 8 to 1,200, maybe 1,500 people apply. There's got to be a weeding out process. And so to do that, we typically take the top scores in the written exam to move forward in the competitive process. We're not sure yet exactly what that will be, but I would say the last time we did this, it was typically around the top 300 range. Next, you would move into the oral interview process. This is where you will interview in front of a panel of fire department members, and then your written score and your oral interview score are combined, and then you're ranked. This is where you really need to be thinking about signing up for a CPAT, which they'll cover later, immediately, because they're very tight right now due to COVID. I would not wait until you may or may not pass the oral interview to sign up for your CPAT. So you need to take care of that right away. So that has to be produced when you come into the chief's interview, which would be the next step. There will be another weeding down of people that will be allowed to go to the chief's interview. And at that point, you need to have your CPAT test card. It has to be within the last 6 months. And your EMT certification. Those that pass the chief's interview will go through a background process and a polygraph process to include a lot of data entry, a lot of meticulous detail, if you will, and then a medical exam before you would be offered a conditional offer of employment. This is the part that'll be very, very important, that you are focused, you are organized, you are an individual that has a high sense of urgency to complete this task in a timely way, because that's really part of what it takes to be a firefighter. And so that's built into this process as well. And so as you can see, if you start with 800 or 1,500 people applying and you come down to, a very competitive process that we may hire, 20, 22, we want, there's going to be really certain things we're looking for and individuals we're looking to hire. With that, Blair, did I miss anything? You want to jump in there?
No, you covered all of it very well, might I add. A couple things about the application process. I know that might seem a little ways away, but I just want to put a few, bugs in the back of your mind there. When you're filling out your application, you want to make sure it is as complete as possible. We do require you to fill out a work history if you have it. We don't take resumes, so just keep that in mind. And some of these documents, such as proof of enrollment, a CPR card, will have to be attached to the application. So we will provide instructions to do that, but you will need to be able to produce those documents when you apply. And we're super excited, and we're very excited to have you guys here. Thanks so much for coming tonight.
All right, thank you, Chief and Blair. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the panelists for this evening. All of the panelists that will be speaking to you are firefighters that are obviously Fresno firefighters. So they serve and protect the community of Fresno and the areas we call home. The first individual we're going to hear from is Captain Daniel Montag. He's one of our training officers, and he's going to speak on behalf of EMT training and meeting that minimum qualification. Captain Montag.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. I want to dive a little deeper into the minimum qualifications of requiring the EMT. A little brief background, as most of you probably know or are aware, the fire department responds to a vast majority of their calls being EMS calls, emergency medical service calls. And because of that, we require all of our sworn safety members to obtain and maintain excuse me, sorry. My computer's going to die here. Chief, can you skip over, give me a quick second here?
Yeah, no problem. We're going to wait for Captain Montag. We're going to skip forward and talk about background investigations. We do a pretty thorough professional background investigation. Those are conducted by our fire investigations unit. I would like to introduce Deputy Fire Marshal Jay Tracy.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. And I guess before I get going, good luck on your potential future. Hey, as Chief said, we do a fairly thorough background on our candidates as they come through the process. And actually, Chief French, if you could go to the other slide with the red lines. This slide here kind of covers some of the basic steps of the background process. Real quickly, we do backgrounds for two reasons. One, it's to ensure compliance is met with the minimum standards that the Chief and Blair just spoke about, and also to ensure that we're getting candidates that are suitable for the position. So that being said, misconduct and other signs of unsuitability are uncovered typically in the background, and that way it prevents us from getting people that aren't fit to fulfill the position of firefighter. I might add a caveat to that too, is that what you've done in the past is not necessarily as important as what you've done since then and what you've done about it. And most importantly, that you're honest with your background investigator. The one thing that for sure will get you disqualified in the process is lying or being dishonest. So the first step as you come through will be a bunch of waivers that you'll sign that allow us to actually start your background. We use a program called ESOF, which basically obtains a personal history statement from you. As Blair stated in your application, your work history, all of your residences, all of your family members, each of your roommates and housemates that you've had, your landlords, your neighbors, all of your employers. We ask for supervisors, we ask for co-workers, and then a list of references that we go back, and then you electronically submit all of that information along with a whole plethora of documents, your driver's license, birth certificate, social security cards, proof of auto insurance, school transcripts, any documents that you might have for, say, citizenship, marriage, or divorce. And all of that is uploaded into the program as well, that a background investigator will then look at and work through. We do go out and physically make contact with relatives and references and neighbors, as well as employers, supervisors. We look at your personnel file if that's available, and then we actually speak to some of your coworkers. So all that information is put together, and it's confirmed by use of a polygraph examination that you'll submit to. So we go back and we confirm all of the information that we've acted is actually truthful and to the best of your ability supplied and it's complete. So the next slide here, these are some of the things that we go through the background process and we actually refer to as kind of the core things that we look at in a firefighter candidate. So real quickly, the 5 pillars there are moral character, handling stress and adversity, work habits, interaction with others, and intellectually based abilities. You can see some of the breakdowns there that I'm sure at some point, or I hope at some point, this will be available to you. But we look at the different things that we get from your references and your coworkers and your family members and people, and then information that we collect, and we kind of try to put it into some of these different categories. As I kind of just repeat what the chief said, this is a very arduous process that you'll go through and that you will submit to in the background process, and it does take a lot of time and effort and energy, but I think it shows your true colors and your commitment to obtaining a job as a firefighter with us. And we're here to help you be successful. The number one thing, again, if I can say it over and over, would be just you need to be truthful and honest and work with us to help you be successful through the process.
Thank you, Jay. We're going to go back up, and if I could call on Captain Dan Montag again, he's going to talk to you about EMT.
Yes. Hi, good evening again. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. Hey, I'm going to start off right where I left off. In the fire service, most of our calls are EMS related calls. This is why all sworn safety members have their EMTB license. When we talk about this exam and this application process, we have 3 different aspects of this. First being what's required prior to your job application. Proof of registration or enrollment in a certified EMT course, a certified emergency medical technician 1 or B course. We don't want a start date later than the application date. You have to be currently enrolled in this class. I was going to list some classes that you guys could take. If you Google search it, there's so many out there. It was pointless in mentioning any. Anything that's emergency medical technician basic certified is what we're looking for. We continue on to the next slide. The requirements prior to your chief's interview. Successful completion of certified EMT basic course. Much of these courses, a CPR card is a prerequisite to even get into the course. Of those courses that are not, that do not require the CPR card prerequisite, they give that many of the times in that EMT class. So once you get the completion of the class, once you get your certification, there's no need to get the national registry at this point yet. Now, if you do that, if you go above and beyond that, that's great, that's fine. However, it's not required. Just the class or course completion certificate is what's required to get your chief's interview. Moving on to the last phase, if you make it this far, the requirement prior to appointment, prior to starting day 1 of the academy, you have to have a current CCEMSA licensure. That's the Central California Emergency Medical Services Agency. If we want to continue to the next slide, this is the entire process from start to finish. You complete your EMT class and you get your CPR card. Once you have both of those, you can apply for the National Registry exam. There's locations all up and down the state that offer the National Registry exam. Once you complete and pass the National Registry exam, you will apply for your EMTB license through Central California Emergency Medical Services Agency. This is through the EMS sector of the Fresno County Department of Health. So that's the very last step, which is required prior to your appointment. So that's kind of the breakdown of what's required. I hope it answers some of your questions. Remember to hit questions in that questions and answer box, and we'll try to get those answered to you before this evening's up. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Montag. One of the tests or portions of the test that you'll have to take to meet the minimum qualifications is a candidate physical ability test. Engineer Woodard is going to talk to you about that. In our department, we call the ranks firefighter specialist Woodard. So Dave actually drives our fire apparatus and works in the southeast corner in town. Dave, can you talk to us about CPAP?
Yes. Good evening. I'm going to cover the CPAP portion. It's something that you will need to go through this process. So let's jump right in it. What is CPAP? It's the candidate physical ability test. It's recognized as a standard for measuring an individual's ability to handle the physical demands of being a firefighter. It is just scratching the surface of what we do. Let me be clear. What does it entail? This test is, one that you'll navigate 8 separate events, closed course within a span of 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Each event is a physical skill or function that firefighters experience on the job. I'll start off with just what they are. You'll have a stair climb, about 3 minutes and 20 seconds on the stair climb. I'll get a little bit more into the weights on that a little bit later. You will pull a hose physically, and you'll take a knee and pull it some more. You'll be an equipment carrier. There'll be a couple of the tools that you'll pick up off the shelf. You'll carry it and bring it back. There'll be a ladder raise and extension. You will raise a ladder from the ground to a wall, then you will extend it on a separate one. There'll be a forcible entry section where you use a sledgehammer. You'll bang on an apparatus like you would be forcing entry into a building or structure. There'll be a search section. There's a limited lighted obstacle course that is enclosed. You will be on your hands and knees. You will go up, over, and through some different obstacles, and you will go from one end to the other. There's a rescue drag. There will be a weighted dummy. You will pull that to a certain point and back. And then again, their last one is a two-part station. You will do a ceiling breach multiple times and a ceiling pull multiple times. Some of the more details you need during the test, you're going to be required to wear a helmet, which is provided, as well as gloves, a 50-pound weighted vest. Again, these are all provided, and this is designated to simulate the weight of a professional protective equipment. All the candidates will be accompanied by a proctor. They will call out directions. You will not be just left to go on your own, and they will score your success in real time. They use multiple timers so that there's no failure of one. You have a backup. Each event must be completed exactly as prescribed. If you fail any part of it, you fail the whole thing. And also, if you don't finish within the time of 10 minutes, 20 seconds, it's also considered a fail. When it goes to the scheduling of your CPAT, Chief talked about there being this being a COVID time we're in. They are affected and impacted by it, but they are open for business. So again, I would not wait until the last minute as you progress through the process. Make sure you get in on that. That is available on their website as far as which places are available. There's 5 facilities, 4 which are open at the time. 1 is closed temporarily. This test must be scheduled online and in advance. There's no same day scheduling. The schedule, again, I'll touch on a little bit further. The test costs $150. That includes the test itself and 2 optional orientation sessions. I'll cover the orientation in a little bit. Rescheduling your test for some reason, if there's a change, you can't make it. Again, there's multiple days. Just do it prior than 2 business days before. Otherwise, you are subject to a processing fee. FCTC, which is the company that does this, administers the test, they do not accept rescheduling requests on the same day. So that would constitute a no-show. And cancellation and no-shows will result in a forfeiture of your fees. All right, so a little bit about getting prepared for this test. The orientation that I mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity to schedule at least 2 of them within 8 weeks prior to your test. During this orientation, it's very low key, but candidates will receive instructions on the test events, and will have the opportunity to try out all the equipment. It is not timed. It is a question and answers kind of to get you a feel for what you will be going through. Participation in one of these is strongly encouraged. It is not recommended, but it does. 2 of them do come included in your fees. You'll complete all the online orientation guide, and detailed information of all the tests will be sent to you. There's also YouTube videos and detailed instructions about these tests. I'll touch on those again. As far as practice, in addition to the orientation, candidates have the option to sign up for at least 2 timed practice runs to the actual test itself. Unlike the orientation, these practice tests are full-scale simulation of the test. They're at a cost of $25. They are much more hands-on. You'll get a real-life understanding of what the test will be like. It won't be like the orientation where it's more just touch and feely. get a little hands-on. This is you have to run through it the entire test. If you choose not to participate in this pre-test program, you will sign a waiver acknowledging that you're aware of the pre-test program and you decline to do that. And then lastly, getting in shape to take the CPAT. I like to say that getting in shape for the test, for the CPAT, I would not just prepare for the CPAT, I would prepare like I'm going into the academy. Again, the CPAT test just scratches the surface of what we do in the field. I can guarantee you that you will be tested a lot longer physically on a daily basis throughout the academy for longer than 10 minutes and 20 seconds. So prepare as if you're going to do that. Lastly, on this page here, I've got some hyperlinks. They may not be available to you right now. If we need to, we can drop them in questions and answers or provide this PowerPoint slide to you at some point. The first one talks about the FCTC Training Center. That is where you're going to go sign up, register, get your dashboard, make all fees, payments, rescheduling, anything you need to do. The second one is the orientation guide. You can click on that and download it. It is a manual. You can see and read the exact test. The orientation video, again, as you read the video, the manual, you can watch the video. It's very clear, step by step, the attire you must wear, what's provided. We have a CPAT preparation guide. That is a physical agility, physical exercise manual that they provided, and all this material is on their website that you can use. I use that as a guide. I would highly recommend, again, take that information as a stepping point and continue to push past that, excel and gain even better agility and physical strength. You have the upcoming schedule where you can look at the dates, your scheduling fees, costs, and then the last one is a grant program. Again, we're told that some of us are being impacted differently, some financially, and so they do offer a grant program in which if you qualify one of the 3 metrics that they have, you could essentially have your entire CPAT test covered. So I highly encourage you to look at that page as well. Thank you. And again, the last 2 more are just 2 pages for links to the actual testing site and the FCTC.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Fire Captain Carrie Wiedemeyer. Fire Captain Carrie Wiedemeyer was acknowledged in Fresno Fire Department's Final 5 video. If you get the opportunity, please go view that. She's going to talk to you guys about oral interviews.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to talk about the oral interview. Speaking in public can make some people cringe. So you have lots of time to prepare for that. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do our oral interviews. They generally consist of 6 to 10 questions. Questions will involve work history, ability to work with others, ethics, motivation, and decision-making ability. The oral board is a collective of Fresno City Fire personnel. Generally on your board, you will have 4 to 6 people. And you will want to dress in business attire. So I've listed some resources to help prepare. If you don't have a fire experience, the questions on the following 3 websites give you a general idea of the type of questions you will be asked in an oral interview for the position of a firefighter. All 3 websites have over 100 different questions. Not necessarily these are the questions you will be asked, but it gives you a general idea of the types of questions. A few suggestions is take time to practice. Whether or not you use your friends, your family, practice speaking in front of others. Not everybody's comfortable with it, and you have a short time to show yourself through your ability to speak in front of other people. So take this time to practice. Videotaping yourself is really helpful. Again, this is something that might make you cringe, but it's interesting to see your faulty communication habits, the lack of eye contact with others, using as every other word in your sentence. So take time to practice. Next slide, please. So in these questions, you will want to share your work, life experiences, volunteering, educational experience, athletic team experience. We want to to see if you're a motivated, trustworthy, and compassionate person. You want to draw from life experiences. We don't expect you to have fire-related experiences. Oftentimes people that don't have fire background are uncomfortable with the answers because they're not fire-related. No, we want to see your life experience. We want to see who you are. In the first slide, as far as your background check goes, there had 5 different characteristics that we were looking for in your background. And you can address those with oral interview answers. And that's the type of person we're looking for: the moral character, handling stress and adversity, work habits, interaction, decision-making. So you'll want to look at those questions and work at answering those in front of other people. So I wish you all luck.
As part of the hiring process for the Fresno Fire Department, for those individuals we choose to extend employment to, we have all of our new firefighters attend we call it a recruit school. It's also known as a fire academy. Here to talk to you this evening regarding our fire academy is actually the drill captain for our next drill school, Captain Agapito Martinez.
Good evening. As many of the members said before, this is a rigorous process. And once you get to the drill school, this is where we take a civilian who has maybe no experience as a firefighter, and in 16 weeks, make them into a firefighter who could serve the citizens of Fresno. As I mentioned, it's a 16-week academy that goes Monday through Friday, approximately 7 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's both physically and academically demanding. You're going to learn everything it takes to be a firefighter, in addition to all the regulations that you have to adhere to as a Fresno firefighter. You're going to have to meet all the minimum qualifications through the California State Fire Marshal, because this is an accredited academy through the California State Fire Marshal. There will be weekly quizzes, as well as a midterm and final. All those academic tests that you have to take, you have to maintain an 80% average throughout the entire duration of the drill school, as well as that same average going into your probationary year. In addition to 80% average on all the academics, you're going to have a passing, 100% passing on all individual performance evaluations, which is all the things that you're going to do as a firefighter, which is pull hose, throw ladders, how to extricate or cut people out of vehicles. Everything that you will need to know as a firefighter, we're going to test you on individually and as a team. And you have to pass those things 100% of the time in order to continue on through the academy. Next slide. As a drill instructor, as well as just any of the training cadre that partake in the drill school, we have some expectations from the individuals. One of the things as you go through it, and Specialist McIntyre will talk more to it, we're looking for people who are hardworking. This is a challenging 16 weeks. It's a challenging job, and we want to make sure that everybody who has come forward can work through that for the duration of their 20, 30-year career. So we're looking to see how resilient they are. We're going to put a lot of challenges on individuals, both physically as well as mentally. I want to make sure that you can handle it, because this is a rigorous job, and the citizens of Fresno depend on you in challenging situations. So we want to make sure that you can handle those things. You're definitely going to have to be physically fit. It's one of those things where most people, I didn't. I came in with no knowledge of firefighting at all. Didn't know just the weight of things, the weight of water, and the accumulation that stuff has on you as you go through the evolution. So you're going to need to be physically fit. And the way we look at it is, we're not training you for the easiest day at Fresno Fire. We're training you for the hardest day. And as you go through this whole process through the Drill Academy, or the Fire Academy at Fresno, one of the things that we're really looking at, we believe we can teach anybody how to be a firefighter. But one of the things that we're really focused on is the individuals that were selected, do they meet the core values of the fire department? And both as the union local 202, as well as the fire administration, we've committed that all of our members live up to the core values of teamwork, trust, commitment throughout the entire process of the academy, whether it's an academic day or whether it's a day that you're going to be physically stressed. We're looking at character traits to make sure that the individual selected and passed through to the next level into the probationary year are going to live up to our core values, and someone that we could trust for the next 20, 30 years serving the citizens of Fresno. After you graduate the academy, you graduate from being a trainee into actually being a probationary firefighter. That starts a 13-month process where your tests will continue, your individual performance evaluations will also continue, but now you're going to be riding on a respective fire engine throughout the city and actually working the job as a firefighter. So I'll go ahead and get to a specialist or the video, and then we'll talk more about what's expected of you as a student.
5 days a week, 8 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day for 8 weeks to 16 weeks, depending on the academy you get selected for.
When you go to drill school, you're there all day, you're physically and mentally exhausted. And at night, when you go home, you're studying. You really have nothing left to give other than your focus on drill school.
We were in it for just over 4 months, I believe. And it was just from day one. You know, they set the expectations, the pace, fast paced. Pretty much the whole material was new to me. It was a lot of studying, a lot of physical work. Just everything that I got introduced to, it was just nonstop. It was one thing after another.
You're not going to be expected to run a marathon or a half marathon, but you should be able to run a couple of miles just in order to keep that type of endurance. You should be able to do the basic kind of stuff like you did in grade school, just push-ups and sit-ups and squats, just everything to work all the muscle groups, especially the core.
Expect to work hard. Everybody brings to the table a different skill set.
It doesn't matter what size you are to come into this job. If you have heart to continue and the motivation to go throughout all the hardships you may find, that's what makes a good firefighter. I think a lot of people underestimate what firefighting is, and it's not just about pulling hose or throwing ladder, which is very important, but there's a lot of things that go into the mental aspects of just knowing the science behind fire, knowing about weights, knowing about, you know, the medical aspect of you dealing with the human body to keep somebody alive. And you're expected to absorb and retain that information at a very fast pace.
It's very, very stressful. So again, you're physically and mentally exhausted. It's the most rewarding time ever in your career. However, it's a bonding time with your fellow candidates. But I always tell families, hang in there. It's not going to be forever. Just support that person while they go through that, because in the end, the reward is endless.
When you get out of the fire academy, you get sworn in as a firefighter, you're going to go to the firehouse. And that's going to challenge you and your family, because we have a 1-year probationary term, in which case you have to prove yourself that, yeah, you may have graduated the academy, but you haven't proven yourself that you could work and serve the citizens of Fresno to the best of your abilities. We're of the mindset that we want to give everybody the tools to succeed if they're willing to give hard work.
Prior to the video, Captain Martinez was going to introduce firefighter Specialist McIntyre. Specialist McIntyre joined the Fresno Fire Department under what we call general recruitment or general population recruitment test, which is very similar to the one that we're hoping to have individuals join the department under based on this town hall meeting. So we wanted to ask Specialist McIntyre to give us a brief glimpse of his experiences as a firefighter recruit as he went through drill school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael McIntyre. I am an engineer or specialist with the Fresno Fire Department. And coming into the fire service with no fire experience is definitely something that was taxing. Just like they said, mentally, physically, you are drained almost every day. But sometimes that adrenaline will also help you out and get through the day. So just some of my experiences or some of my advice would be to start today. If you can't start today, make sure you start tomorrow. Physically, you will have so much equipment on that you're wearing every day. The stuff is weighted. You have to stay in shape. So challenge yourself starting today until you, and I'm not going to even say until you make it to drill school, because this is a career that will require you to challenge yourself every day throughout your whole career. So start today. Everything that you can. If you can't run a mile yet, challenge yourself to run a mile. If you can't run a half a mile yet, challenge yourself to run a half a mile. Some of those things that almost took me out was I didn't realize how claustrophobic I was. And I remember running up the drill tower during some of our drills, and I would take my mask off. And that's something that you can't do, because if you are in a fire situation, there's smoke, and that smoke is going to be the thing that kills you. So one of my drill captains, he got on my butt. He put his finger in my face and he was like, "You never do that. If that happens, you're going to hurt yourself." And he really gave it to me. So what I did over that weekend when I was at home is I kept that mask on when I was folding clothes. I kept that mask on when I was studying. I kept that mask on when I was cooking. And those are some of the things that will probably have a lot of people question themselves if this is something that you want to do. But because I knew that this is something that I wanted to do, I just had to figure out what I could do to make that happen and what would help me get over those fears. And from that moment on, I had never had a problem with keeping a mask on my face and just fighting hard. So physically and mentally, class is, when you're at class from 7 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the evening, it doesn't stop there. When you get home, you're gonna have to study. I'm talking about 2 hours a day to 4 hours a day after you get out of class. On the weekends, there's gonna be some parties that you can't go to. There's gonna be some vacations that you can't take because it is taxing on you. So I would say make sure you also prepare yourself for that. And when you get to drill school, just know that if this is something that you really want to do, you're gonna do what you have to do to get through. So coming in with no experience, the things that helped me was, number one, being an athlete. I played high school basketball and football, played college basketball. I was a supervisor for another company before I came on with the fire service. So preparing for a supervisor position, I had a lot of interview help, if you will. And with that interview help that I received, that also helped me prepare for the interviews for my oral boards for the Fresno Fire Department. There's a lot of things that you can do to prepare yourself for it. Going through college, I was able to have a study routine, but just because I was able to have that study routine in college, it's even more when you get to the fire service and when you're going through drill school. So I'm saying all of that not to scare anybody, but I just want you to be 100% prepared. If there's a firefighter that you know, if there's somebody that you have ever come in contact with who is a firefighter, make sure you reach out to those people and see what it is that you can do to get you set up to get ready for a career in the fire service.
Thank you, McIntyre. All right, if an individual gets hired, has a position in the academy, and they graduate the academy, they go from recruit to probationary firefighter. Here to talk to us today about a day in the life of a firefighter is both firefighter Chad Mazzara and firefighter Renee Gonzalez.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chief, for the introduction. I'm just going to talk about briefly what the kinds of calls that we respond on a daily basis with the fire department, as well as probation. So the fire department responds to any calls for service, and there's the obvious ones that are fires and medical emergencies. But many times people don't know quite who to call in certain situations. And so they call 911, and we'll respond out and we'll help them as best as we can, or we'll at least point them in the right direction so that they can mitigate their situation. A lot of times people just need a little encouragement or just need to be pointed in the right direction. But the bulk of the calls that we do go on are fires and medical emergencies. Fires, the obvious ones, house fires, building fires, commercial fires. And the big ones throughout the summer as well, throughout the fire season months, are the wildland fires, the vegetation fires. You'll probably see us all throughout the freeways. Many of us at a basic level are trained in wildland firefighting response, and some do go out in the larger fires throughout the state when called upon. Not only that, but we respond to medical emergencies. And that, like Chief Simonius said earlier, that's about 65%. So a bulk of the calls that we go on are for medical emergencies. And that's something to really get a grasp of as you're entering into the fire services, that being an EMT class and getting a little taste of it through your class, it's not just all about fighting fires. You're going to see some, unfortunately, some horrible things. And a lot of those things will stick with you. And being able to recognize either emotionally, mentally, if those things affect you, being able to recognize if it's hurting your home life or your relationships, those things are signs that you need to at least look out for, or talk to your classmates or talk to whoever about. That's something to really think about. It's an unfortunate part of the job. We see some people on their worst days, and sometimes we make it better. Other times, the outcome that we would desire doesn't always happen for that patient, and that's an unfortunate part of it. But many times during those calls, being able to separate yourself from that situation and help people as best as you can is what's most important. So getting a grasp of that in your EMT class is extremely important. And then we go on traffic accidents, as well as just calls for service. So the typical cat in a tree, or an animal stuck in a storm drain, whatever it might be. Sometimes people don't know how to fix their smoke detectors, or simple little fixes like that give the citizens confidence in us as firefighters and the fire department in general. Some other responses that we go on require more specialty training. Again, Chief Simonius mentioned this earlier, but airport rescues, heavy rescue, we have a water rescue team, as well as a hazmat response team. And those require, on top of the hours that it takes to train to get ready just for day one to fight fires or respond on medical emergencies in the city, those require hours of training before getting on the team, and then continuing education hours throughout your career. And again, that's not just for the specialty trained, that's for all of us. We train constantly throughout the year. And another important part of this to talk about is your probation. So if you want to go to the next slide there, Chief. Probation, again, like everyone has talked about up to this point, every step of the way, you need to have endurance, and you need to be steadfast in this process to show that you really want to be here. Unfortunately, probation does not let up. The academy is extremely difficult. The application process could be frustrating. It could be taxing on just the level of patience that somebody might have to get through the process. But then probation is really your time to prove yourself. You have 13 months, a 6-month station transfer. So you start out with one crew, and during that time, you're going to be physically, mentally, and emotionally probably the most tired and stressed out you've ever been. You're on duty for 48 hours. And not only do we have many engine companies and stations that run over 4,000 calls a year, which is equal to maybe 10, 15 plus calls in a 24-hour period, but you're expected to clean the station. You're expected to give station schools. You're expected to train. It doesn't let up in probation. We want to know that you want to be here. We want to know that you're willing to put in the work. And that's where you prove yourself, is out on probation. You also have to do individual performance evolutions, like Captain Martinez talked about earlier, where we evaluate you with an actual printed out sheet to make sure that you can do the skills. And you're constantly being evaluated throughout that time on your 6-month and 12-month tests throughout probation. And so now firefighter Renee Gonzalez, who was a classmate of mine, we both got hired together. He's going to talk just through a 48-hour shift and what to expect throughout that time and then throughout your career.
Hello. So for those of you who don't know, we work a shift schedule. So that means we work 48 hours on shift and we have 4 days off, and that's 365 days a year. Every single day of the year, our fire stations are staffed with a crew. Our first day, we start at 7 in the morning. Usually I come on shift and I will talk to the former on-duty firefighter, and they will give me a rundown of any important things that I should know about that has gone on during their shift, anything going on around the station that I might need to know about. After I get that pass on, My main job is to be ready for any type of emergency that I might get called to. So I do a thorough equipment check. I check my equipment, make sure I'm ready to respond to a fire, medical emergency, make sure we're ready to respond to anything that firefighter Mazzara just mentioned. At 8 a.m., we have an informal meeting. It's called Lineup, and it's a time where we sit down, usually at the dinner table as a crew, and we go over anything that is going on for our shift, our 2 days that we're going to be at work. Also, that's a good time for us to talk about any training points. And as a probationary firefighter, that is your time to give your station school and to prove yourself to your crew that you know your equipment and that you're very familiar with your job. After that, we set aside a time to work out. It's very important to be physically active for this career. It'll make you last your 30 years of work and enjoy life after this career. So we set time aside to be physically fit. After that, we will have lunch and dinner both days while we're at work. So cooking is an important aspect of this job. If you don't know how to cook, I recommend learning basic meals, but that'll make your job a lot easier as a probationary firefighter. During the day, I like to find something around the station or a tool on my engine to detail and to take care of. So that keeps me busy. Also during my free time, I like to study on things that I might need to be refreshed on, policies. And as a crew, we do quite a bit of training. So this, like I said, this occurs both days while you're here. This is our house, so we like to maintain our station and keep it clean just like how you do at home. Aside from this, we're given multiple opportunities to participate in other events as a firefighter. There are multiple committees you can join, such as a recruitment committee, which is what all these members you see here are a part of. There's technology committees, uniform committees, apparatus committees, multiple groups you can join. There's also various programs you can be a part of, such as the Explore program or Girls Empowerment Camp. There are multiple fundraisers we are a part of and we raise money for. We have union functions we participate in. One of my favorite things about being a firefighter is the fire family that you build. Within this career, my coworkers are my family and I do many things with them off duty. So you become very close to these members you work alongside with. And lastly, this career provides you with many classes and training opportunities to further your career and to further better yourself as a firefighter. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Renee. I would like to reintroduce you guys to Firefighter Specialist McIntyre. He's going to talk to you about balancing family and work life. And joining him today is Taya, his wife. Specialist McIntyre.
Hello again. Just like firefighter Gonzalez said, our schedule is 2 days on and 4 days off. So it's almost like we have a vacation every week. And that's also one of the benefits of the fire department. When it comes to schedule, we can do trades where you can trade a day with somebody. And if they work your Monday and Tuesday, you can work there whenever they need you to work back for them. We have vacation days, which you start off after you get out of drill school. You start off with 6 vacation days a year, and then depending on how many years you have, the more vacation days you get a chance to take off. Family time. When it comes to family time, like I said, having 4 days off straight is definitely a benefit, especially if you have kids. It allows you to be able to go to school functions, sporting events. You can also take time off to do that. So if you're working 2 days, you can take 12 hours off and go to one of your kids' sporting events or parent-teacher conferences or stuff like that. There's so many benefits when it comes to the schedule and being able to spend family time. One thing that my family and I like to do, we love to travel. So if we want to go to, I don't know, we went to China last year. I was able to take my 2 days off. I just switched my vacation. I used my 2 days off and we were in China for 10 days. So having a schedule like that definitely allows you to have the time that you want to be able to build that strong foundation with your family. Some of the other things that we do is Christmas tree lane. Every Christmas, what we do is we meet over at Station 20, which is right behind Van Ness, where they do the big walk. And it's a huge potluck where everybody brings all kinds of snacks and goodies and food and all that kind of stuff. We get a chance to mingle with some our fire family, and some of our kids have grown up. So every couple of months when we go to one of these events, the kids get a chance to see each other. And those are some of the other benefits of being a firefighter. So one other thing is we have a California Firefighter Olympic, and that's basically where we meet in Northern California or Southern California, where all of the departments on the West Coast get together, and they have events like basketball, softball, golf, cycling, boarding, all kinds of things like that. And we've also been able to build relationships with other firefighters from other departments too. So that's been really cool in building a family, and then having our family be able to grow up every year and see these other kids that they haven't seen all year because they work for other departments. So I know my wife, she has something to say about maybe maybe what the schedule is like for me when I'm gone for 2 days, and then when I'm at home for 4 days. And
I'm only laughing because my husband has a whole list of things that we were supposed to talk about, and then he went through all of them. And so then he said, and I'm sure my wife has something. And I'm like, what am I supposed to talk about? I think overall the benefits certainly outweigh the negatives. I think especially nowadays, COVID-19 brings a little extra stress. Sorry, our children, this is our real life. Our children are definitely home. So you'll hear them and you'll see our dog in just a few minutes, I'm sure of it. But I think that there's a certain amount of stress that being married to a firefighter brings. When COVID first came out, I was definitely Lysoling him when he walked in the door. And I definitely give him a good look over every time he walks in the house from a fire shift. But I would say having him home and having memories with him home most days of the week is phenomenal. Our kids don't have any memories of no one being at any event. And I'm super grateful for that. Also, I want to talk about the Fire Academy that first year. They made it sound intense. It is intense. It is intense. So I hope that didn't scare you, but also that's the reality of that first year. Fire Academy, that 4 months is intense. My husband was never skinnier in his whole life. And then that first year, you think that you finally made it through drill school and you're like, we made it. No, you didn't. You still have another year of that probationary period, and it is intense. But after you get through that, you'll have the respect of the firefighters, and you'll have the respect of the people in your own home, that confidence that you'll come home safe every day, and you will feel it's all worth it. That's my whole point. This whole thing is completely worth it. And I would completely recommend this lifestyle. And I'm blessed to be married to a firefighter.
Thank you very much, you guys. Well, that concludes our panelists for this evening. We do have 2 individuals in the room that have been working feverishly to answer the over 100 questions that have been submitted. I want to call on our Public Information Officer, Shane Brown, who is in here with us. And we have a couple questions we wanted to share, and he wanted to answer, well, in person via a virtual platform. So Shane has some questions and answers for you.
As Chief French said, my name is Shane Brown. I'm the Public Information Officer currently. I'm also an engineer with the fire department. Some of the questions that keep coming up in the chat are things like, what should you study for the written? We highly encourage that you start that now. The higher you score in that written, the better. The filters that the chief mentioned earlier through the process, that's what's going to get you in the door for an interview. So first and foremost, you want to score high. Any civil service exam study guide that's available, we recommend you look at that. There are tons of online free resources. You type in firefighter study guides, things like that online. Go down to Barnes & Noble or any local bookstore. There are firefighter study exams. You want to study reading, comprehension, basic math, recall type stuff. We don't control what's on the written. That goes through our personnel. They have their own process for that. So the fire department, we do not control the written, but those are the recommended study material that you should go after. Additionally, there was a question about age. We do not make exceptions. So if you are not 20 years old at the time the application period opens, you will not be able to move forward in the process. So if you put your application in and it's determined that you're not meeting the age requirement, you can't move forward. As far as an age cap, we don't have an age cap. So if you're 40 and above, there's no discriminatory process there. Like, by all means, you can apply. As far as the EMT steps, I want to clarify, and maybe I can punt this back to Captain Montag in a moment, but the easiest way to think of this is that in order to apply, you have to prove that you are physically attending an EMT class at that time. I know with COVID, you may be attending it online, and that's fine, but the chief, and in the process, you will need to submit some form of proof via a letter from your instructor, the school, whoever's administering the class. You'll need some form of proof that you're currently in that EMT class. Once that process, you move forward, you do well in the written, you'll be invited to the interview. And then in the next step, when you go to the fire chief's interview, you will need to have completed that EMT course. So you will need to have what's called the EMT completion certificate, graduation certificate, whatever course you go through. They may have their own terminology, but essentially you need to have completed the EMT course successfully in order to participate in the fire chief's interview. As the process moves forward and you go through the backgrounds, the polygraph, and then you're given a conditional offer of employment. One of the questions was, what does appointed mean? In order for the fire chief to extend you the offer of employment, at that point, you will need to have your EMT license within the county of Fresno through CCEMSA. It's on the Q&A. We typed it out several times. Please go on your own and research this process and what it takes to get licensed in the county. It's very specific. It's all laid out for you. And we encourage you to go out. We don't provide EMT courses through Fresno Fire. And we expect a highly competitive process. So there's going to be a lot of people trying to apply for EMT courses currently. So we recommend you don't wait. Last on my suggestion also is please read the information on the recruitment page. Many of the questions that come through on the Q&A, as well as through our email and our social media, are already answered on the recruitment. We expect you to go out and do the research. It's available for you already there. It's linked on the page. We need you to go out and do the research. We are happy to help you. We're happy to help you move forward in the process. But keep in mind, with a competitive process, when you ask questions that are already listed there for you, the answers are already available to you, you're basically telling us you haven't taken the time to do the research. So please, we encourage you to take the time. Look at everything that's on that recruitment page. Look at everything on the fire department's page. It's all there for you. We want to see you be successful. And I think Jay Tracy, our fire marshal, can kind of speak about social media. That's another concern, is that when you go through your background process, please keep in mind that your social media will be evaluated. So you want to punt it to Jay?
That's it.
Yeah, so part of the background investigation that we will. Keep going.
Yeah, continue, Jay.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, as part of the background investigation that you'll submit to, there is a section that we ask about computer usage and social media. We do look at that to see, again, what kind of person you are when you're making comments in your daily doings. So with that being said, we can go back and look at social media for a long period of time. So it is just one of the other pieces that we put together when we're looking at a candidate.
We've had a handful of questions about women in the fire service. I wanted to introduce you guys to Specialist Christine Wilson, who served the Fire Investigations Unit for a while as one of our arson investigators and is now driving one of our engine companies in Southeast Fresno. Christine, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I can. Welcome, and I'm excited to be on the panel tonight, and I'm really excited to see. I see a lot of women having some questions I've been with the fire service for 18 years. I do know coming into the fire service, physical fitness was really important to me. I'm an athlete, so I'm very familiar with the physical demands of sports, and the fire service is very similar to that. It's a lot for women. And I saw one of the questions was, is firefighting more dangerous for women than it is for men? Firefighting is as equally dangerous for men as it is for women. When you come into the fire academy, they teach you the techniques that you need to learn to be able to perform your duties. But in order to do that, there is an aspect of physical fitness that is definitely required. I have to work harder. I feel I have to work harder than the other men that I have come through, but that's just something that I am used to, and I am up for that challenge. So for me, my lifestyle every day is to maintain that physical fitness. I've been in the department for 18 years, and still to this day, I go to the gym every day. I watch what I eat, because it's just as important to perform the same duties as that person next to you, whether it's another female or it's another male in the department. Station life is just about a lot of respect. It's kind of like if you have brothers and sisters, it's living in a house with your brothers and sisters. There's a lot of teasing that might go on, but it's basically overall mutual respect. I have my space, they have their space, and the men respect my space. But I'm excited for the process, and I'm excited, and I'm hoping that we have more females that do step up and are up for that challenge. There's 5 females currently in our department, and we really are excited to see who our future is going to be.
Thank you very much, Christine. We're wrapping up. I know the questions keep coming in. We're continuing to type answers. There is one question that has come up quite a bit, and that is when our process will be open. We intend to open our process at sometime in the springtime, which I know is a very wide range. I encourage all members of the public and interested individuals to check back with Fresno Fire Recruitment page at the City of Fresno Fire Department's page. We have a special section for recruitment. We will also push out our hiring once we open the process on our social media. Beyond that, I would like to turn it over to our fire chief, Chief Gary Donis, for any closing remarks.
Thanks, thanks, Chief French. You've seen really really some great talent in our department presenting here today and sharing some facts with you about this great profession. You know, you have to have a servant's heart to be a firefighter. We are public servants. We serve the public every day. So most of the time it's during their worst hour. And so if that's not your calling, you need to pass for this profession, because that's really truly what we want is those with the servant's heart that have a really great attitude, strong work ethic, and we can teach you to be the firefighter, but you have to come to us with some skills to include those that were mentioned before. We cannot handhold you through this EMT process. That's on you. And really it shows a lot of initiative that you are hungry for this job. So we look forward to seeing many of you through the process. We welcome you all. We want you to be successful, and stay tuned.
Wish all of you the best of luck. I hope you have a good evening and look forward to seeing you in the future.
Brad and Shane, I can leave this up for a few more minutes if you want to handle more Q&As in the Q&A box.
Yeah, Gavin, if possible, can we leave it open for 15 minutes? We're going to power through as many Q&A as possible, and then we'll shut it down.
Absolutely. Just let me know. I'm going to stop the stream since we don't need to do that. But